Studios, Gunners Collective TV. Back at it, you already know. Like a motherfucking smack addict. Bye up, bye up. And in Manuel style in direct fashion, we're going to get straight into the content of the day. But before we do, let's hit that like and subscribe button. Ding! Put your notification bell on all so that way you're directed in the direction of the dope content I'm kicking. And I highly appreciate all the support, man. We're going up on this channel. And it's all because of you. And for that, I can say I'm very humbled and I'm very much so appreciative, man. I know I couldn't do it without you. So thank you. So everybody wants to know what happened with the Big Tone interview, right? Or how I feel about it. What's my perception, how I perceived it, right? And I'm going to be honest with you guys. I thought it was a good interview. You know, I watched it along with everyone else, those who watched it. And I noticed a few things. So let me pick through it and explain, you know, my perspective on it and what I thought. First of all, Big Tone carried himself like I already knew he would. You know, when you're a product of the 90s, you're an 80s baby, a 90s gangster, man, there's certain ways to conduct yourself. And I believe that Big Tone wiggled the way he did, answered the questions the best way he possibly could, and basically put down a masterclass to the youngsters on how it's supposed to be done. How you're supposed to get up there and conduct yourself in an environment where you know it's hostile, where you know an individual is going to try to instigate some shit and ask you some wild questions. This man conducted himself with a whole lot of professionalism, right? And I wouldn't expect anything less from Big Tone. You know, like I said, being a product of the 90s, a real life gangster, he knows exactly what to say and what not to say. He knows how to conduct himself righteously. Now, Adam tried. Oh, he tried, right? But it seemed like when he tried, Big Tone was able to divert that and get it back to the music, get it back to something productive. And that's all you can ask of a man that's going up there representing Northern California, but representing himself as well. You know, there's a lot that gets spoken upon when it comes to the North and South situations. Mexicans, right? The rap game. You know, people automatically assume that there's a beef there, or there's going to be disrespect, or there's going to be something to fuel the fucking fire of the bullshit shenanigans that are going on, all these diss albums. Now, but at the same time that Tone was doing this interview, or this interview was being dropped, right? Yesterday about 3 o'clock in the afternoon, there was diss albums that were flying off the shelves. There was shit being put out there on YouTube, man. The disrespect is real, but Tone ain't the type of person, he has tunnel vision. Right? When I say tunnel vision, he's the type of person, he puts on his red suede blockers and gets to what's in front of him. Okay? And he did that. Now, Adam did try to ask him a few questions, if you noticed, that were a little suspect, right? But Tone was able to rein it and bring it back in. Now, one of the questions he asked, I'll be touching on later on in the spill a little bit more extensively, but I wanted to put it out there. When he asked Tone about his hair. Now, everybody knows, maybe it's a myth, maybe it's just been spoken on, but everyone knows that there's always been a difference with Norteños and Southsiders hair. It's just the way it is, right? Traditionally, when you think a Southerner, a Southsider, man, you think bald head. Okay, you think bald heads, automatically, man, big heads, that has to be a Southerner. That's the way they rock. Now, the majority of them on the prison yard, that's gonna be a way of identifying them. If you see a gang of Mexicans with skin bald heads, man, you can pretty much bank on it. Them guys are from Southern California or the Southsiders. Now, I can't get into the whole history of why their heads are bald or why they choose to do that. But I can tell you there's definitely a history there, and I'm going to have to do my homework and figure that out. I've always wondered why the Southsiders rock the bald head, and I've been told different variations of the stories of the history of why. You know, but I want to get down to the brass tacks and the realness, because I don't want to be feeding you guys propaganda and bullshit like so many others do. I want to give you uncut, no added preservatives, man, and the real history on why that is. But it's not a fucking big deal. It's a damn haircut, right? It is what it is. Yes, it can be used as identifying vatos from down south, but at the end of the day, that's it. You know, once you identify the enemy or you identify the opposition or whoever, then it's on you to figure out what you're going to do next to take that next step. It's really not a big issue, man, but it does come in play, especially when you're at guerra with the opposition. Now, Big Tone was asked a question by Adam that I kind of chuckled at when he was asked. And he was asked about his hair, about the tail that he has. And Big Tone answered it perfectly. The best way you possibly can. See, Adam tried to make it about a northern haircut and a southern haircut. He tried to make Tone go there, right? Tone didn't go there. He was smart enough to understand that and to know better, right? When he asked him about his tail and if that was a northern thing compared to a southern thing, see, Adam fucked up. And where he messed up was he mentioned Chito Ranas. And he said, I've had people on my podcast. First, he went into mentioning Stockton. We all know that Stockton, man, the Norteños out of Stockton, the gente out of Stockton are kind of rocking this shag, man. They're kind of rocking this haircut that I think was originated not in Chicago, man, but there's a lot of vatos in Chicago rocking it. Okay, especially when it comes to the Latino community, even the black community. It's this shag that they got in the back, man, this Chicago look, this drill look, right? That a lot of Norteños are starting to rock in Northern California. But quietly as it kept, let me take it back to the early 80s, late 80s, right? I remember distinctly youngsters rocking that haircut. I had the drop long hair in the back, short on top, and wore my hat like this. I remember there was a time when the lower you wore your eyes, your hair, your hat over your eyes, man, it meant something. What it meant, I don't know. You were a real gangster, right? But we all did it. But that was the haircut up north. I know at least in Northern California. I don't know what was going on in Southern California. And that kind of went away and it went into the fade or the Mongolian. Now, I've spoken on the Mongolian in the past. What Big Tone has is not a Mongolian. Okay, it is simply a tail all the way across. Now, Adam asked him about that particular haircut. That's kind of like Big Tone's trademark. What Big Tone said was that was his mojo, his power. He's always had that haircut. He's pretty well known for that haircut, right? Which is just simply a tail a little bit higher than the usual tail that you would have in the back. And the way he explained it was perfect. It wasn't a north or south thing that Adam was trying to turn it into. It was more so a thing that in his area, man, if you had a Mongolian, which of course is a norteño or was a norteño haircut, and not just norteños had it, because I actually ran into Southsiders when I was in the youth authority that had a Mongolian. There was a big old vato from Rancho San Pedro that had a Mongolian. And I tripped when I first seen it. Damn, them vatos get Mongolians too. Of course, he was the only one I ever seen with it. But that was just his thing. I always thought it was just a hairstyle. Later on, I learned the history on it. And I'm going to give you a brief glimpse into that Mongolian history before we get back to this content. And the history is like this. The Mongolian was utilized by warriors way back in the days, man, to symbolize certain status within their ranks for guerra, right? Mostly used by Genghis Khan and the Mongolians. Vikings had Mongolians. Aztec warriors had Mongolians. These things were used to show status again and a symbolization of a warrior. So the Norteños adapted that, as most gangs do, most groups and organizations, they adapt certain things in history to present as them. And a Mongolian was utilized for two things. It was utilized for separation with Norteños and Southsiders to let everybody know, man, you were a Norteño. You were fighting, you had a warrior spirit, but also to let as a form of communication, to let other Norteños know when you hit the yard exactly what side you were on and who you were, man. It was really a good thing to help identify, because in them times there wasn't a lot of Norteños on the yard in the California prison system. So if you seen a homeboy with the Mongolian, you automatically knew, okay, he's from Northern California. He's rocking the Mongol, man. That's a homeboy. That's someone I could rock with. And it was just a good thing until it became not a great thing. And it was disbanded. Basically, you were told, man, Mongolians had to go because basically the CDC was targeting you and validating you as being a Norteño gang member. But also, it was letting the opposition know exactly who you were. See, it was a two-sided coin, man. Heads, it was good. Tails, it wasn't. So eventually, the Mongolian started to fade out. Now, there are some youngsters that still rock the Mongolian in certain areas, like Salinas, San Jose, Norteño strongholds. You're going to see homies rocking the Mongolian. And that's just what it is, right? But of course, when they get incarcerated or do any type of time, they are told, man, that has to go just because it doesn't fit the CDCR requirements. And also, man, it is basically something that people can target you with. So it went. Now, Big Tone's tail, of course, the way he explained it perfectly. He said that back in them days in the city of Antioch, the gang task, parole, and probation officers, if they seen you with the Mongolian, you were getting violated. You were getting ran up on by the gang task. They were taking pictures of you, snatching you up, man. And that was an easy way to catch a violation. And of course, because the gang task knew that if they seen with a bunch of guys with Mongolians walking around, that those were Norteños, man, and that was easily a way to identify him as a street gang member, and even fucking give him a validation point so that when they went into the CDC, they're already seen as an alleged Norteño, man. So they decided in Antioch, in the words of Big Tone, to drop it just a little bit, and he's always had that haircut. Those that know about Big Tone and have watched Big Tone and been a fan of him for many years, his hairstyle has never switched up. He's always had that homie high fade. Now, the homie high fade, let me explain that to you. For a long time, Norteños were getting what was called the Norteño fade, which was kind of a high fade. Homeboys would have that high fade, maybe a tail dropped in the back, or they wouldn't. I remember my homeboy used to run around Merced, man, with the high fade with a Mongolian. It was hella clean, or at least we thought it was clean. That was our style. Whereas the Southsiders down in Southern California, yes, there were some of them with long hair. Yes, there were some of them with fades. But as soon as they became incarcerated, a lot of them, not all of them, but a lot of them would, bick their head, cut their head bald, and identify with their people. Now, Adam tried to make it a North and South thing, and Tone said, hey, man, a haircut is just a haircut, basically. It just is what it is. It's his style. He gets a lot of mean mugs and shoulder shrugs for it. A lot of people look at him when he's in public. But hey, man, he's not going to switch nothing up for nothing. And Adam's saying, well, Chito Ranos has the same haircut. When he tried to say that, Tone hit him with the double back, the boomerang. He says, well, even you said Vatos from, Southerners have the same haircut. So it ain't a North and South thing. It's just basically a haircut thing. And Adam was like, damn, didn't work. See, he tried to show or to put a wedge in between North and South with that little statement, but it didn't work. Now, for the most part, the way Adam conducted himself in this interview, I got to give him props. I hate to do it, but I got to do it, right? Because I think he's seen the look in Tone's eyes. I think he's seen he was fucking with a real one there. This wasn't someone he was going to be able to get over on, ask stupid questions. This wasn't a guy that came to that table drunk. He didn't come inebriated or high. He didn't take his shirt all off. He didn't disrespect the Southern side. That Vato got up there, spoke on his podcast. Shout out to his podcast, man. Two Sides of the Game, him and AWACS. He promoted his podcast. He promoted a unity within the Norteño movement. He promoted his music, and basically he was there to give the history on himself, and as well as his homeboy Woody, man, the legendary Woody out of Antioch, the Bay, man. He gave a lot of love to Woody and basically said Woody is the reason why he's doing what he does, and he continues to keep that flame lit. Now, I don't think Adam was expecting Big Tone to make it about the music and to keep it about, his history within the rap game. I think he was thinking he was going to get him, play him out of pocket, man, and get this guy to say something about the Southern side and all the bullshit shenanigans that are going on with the disrespect. But I knew from the gate Tone wasn't going to go out like that. Nah, Tone doesn't do that. No, I think the thing I took most from this interview, which kind of I wouldn't say broke my heart, but had me thinking, wow, man, look at this shit, right? Was the commentary in the chat. The chat was on fire with the most disrespect I've seen in a very, very long time. I mean, I couldn't even look at that chat without being disgusted with myself. Or being not disgusted with myself, but being disgusted with everyone else in that chat, myself, right? The disrespect between North and South in that chat was more than I've seen in a very, very long time. You see, when I came into YouTube, I had an idea. There was idealisms within what I was doing, what I was pushing. And my push has always been for unity and for an eye-opening experience with the raza to recognize, man, one or two things. One, prison is not the way to go. If you can detour from going to prison and get out the mix, man, and stay on the straight and narrow and do something positive and use delayed gratification skills to obtain the things you want in life, you're going to get more, and you're going to recognize that. See, I never had OG homies pushing me that way. I always had homeboys being like, hey, bro, look, I got some keys, bro, that you can break in any car. Or, hey, bro, fuck them other vatos. Or, hey, bro, this, and that. I never had an OG sit me down and be like, look, Holmes, fuck that shit getting locked up, man. Go get an education. Go get a jale, man. You can do more for the barrio, the hood, and your familia than you can locked up. Locked up, what are you going to do, bro? Sit there all day and eat a sopa? you ain't doing much, right? Yeah, you're a soldado on frontline status. You might do a pegada and catch vida, but at the end of the day, bro, you're really not doing nothing but just taking up space and time and concrete. You're sitting there doing nada, right? I never had that. So I had an idea, man, maybe if I could push a little clecha, give a little bit of game to some of these youngsters, maybe, just maybe, they cannot see me for who I am or my status within the gang lifestyle, but could understand, man, that anybody can get got and shit happens to everybody. Doesn't matter how hard you think you are, how much history you have, how much work you put in the past. None of that really truly matters. At the end of the day, man, you could be thrown out just like the rest of them, right? Just is what it is. Also, secondary, what I wanted to show was that the North and South are not too much different from each other. That there's a lot of similarities, man. That it's just an imaginary line drawn in the Bakersfield sand, and anything up this way, right, is considered a Norteño, and anything that way is considered a Southerner. But at the end of the day, we're all considered brown, Latino, Mexican, part of a cause, right? But that chat right there, that was not that. That was a whole bunch of net bangers, bumping baking soda breath and cell warrioring on the computer system. And it just definitely broke my heart to see young raza acting that way, because I know it wasn't any old heads, and if it was, damn, bro, you guys are full of shit. You know, when I first started my channel, man, the lives, there was a lot of gangbanging going on in the lives, but eventually over time and through words and action, man, I was able to get rid of that. It didn't become a place of disrespect. It became a safe haven for North, South, Bulldogs, anyone of a Mexicano or Chicano or a Latino flavor, or anyone, white, black, Asian, Uso, to come and to have a good time, to be entertained, man, to pop their collar, man, to get to know each other, to get to know the other side of the game, the two sides of the game, like Big Tone would say it, right? And for years, man, it's been that way. Very, very little disrespect. There are youngsters that try to come in but bump baking soda breath, and they get fucking kicked in their ass out on the way out the door and get handed a fucking thing of Crest to brush their mascara. And that's it. But yesterday in that chat on No Jumper, that was the most North and South gangbanging I've seen in a long time on wax, right? That right there was uncalled for and unnecessary. I literally seen a Southerner get in there and say, hey, I implore to all my active homies, bro, get off the net with this shit, bro. If you're really truly active and you're with the business, then you already know that's not the get down. And the same thing goes for the North. That is not the get down. You know, hey, bands one, lefty one, oh, fuck this, and you're a farmer that, and you're a fucking this, that, and man, the disrespect level was up. It was at its height. For what? For an interview with the Volta from Northern California? That's how much hate. You know, truly the ones that hate the most are the ones that are going to lose. Why would you hate a man trying to put some money in his pocket? Look, I don't hate that shit. Do I condone sitting down on No Jumper and Adam's fucking interrogating ways? Absolutely not. You know, I know that there's other podcasts. I mean, Tone got a poppin' podcast right now doing his thing. And again, Adam asked him a question, right? You know, he said, hey, do you plan on bringing others onto your podcast? The man just started his podcast. You know, of course, when you start something, you're going to get, you know, you're going to bring in people you're more comfortable with interviewing. He's interviewed GB. He's interviewed Rico Too Smooth, Lazy Boy. I'm sure he'll eventually get bands on there. Other people from Northern California, but it would be a beautiful thing if he started to get Africano brothers on there, you know, the blacks rappers, if he started to get, you know, even Southern California rappers, man. And I hate this thing. Someone not checked me on it, but they brought it up and I said, I absolutely agree. He said, why do you say Norteño rappers or Chicano rap or Southern California rap? Rap is rap. And I said, bro, hey, that's like a breath of fresh air, you saying that. You're absolutely right. To me, hip-hop rap is rap. You don't hear Eminem saying, hey, I'm with white rap or I'm a white rapper. Nah, it never happens. He's a rapper that just happens to be white. Just like all these guys, man, they're hip-hop heads or they're rappers that just happen to be brown. They just happen to live in Southern California or Northern California. They're not Northern California rappers or Southern California rappers. I think in order for us to progress as a people and get outside the box and make more feria and get up on that stage with Kendrick Lamar and be allowed and accepted, man, in the hip hop community, we got to drop those labels of Northern California rappers and Southern California rappers, because they're just rappers that happen to live in cities that, you know, the geographical area might be north or south. That's it. Now, as far as gang banging, you know, Voltos that are from gangs and groups, yeah, they're always going to have that label because they put it on themselves. You play, you pay. Now, I think Tone handled himself correctly, as professional as you can. And again, like I said, a masterclass in showing these youngsters exactly what it is. You know, it's funny when Adam gets around someone about the business, the way he conducts himself. See, you could do it, Adam. You could really do it, man. There's no shenanigans. And I mean, he tries. He tries to throw little slick comments and aggravate the situation. But a person like Tone thinks about what he says before he says it. So there was really no story there. There was no aggravation as far as North and South. Tone didn't disrespect Southsiders. As much disrespect as there was in that chat, man, I was very surprised that, you know, people would go that route, especially with someone in the position as Big Tone, or the respect he gives all sides, man. You know, in the past, there has been songs where he's disrespected or he said a thing or two about Southern California. That's part of gangbanging, man. That's always going to be there. But to get on a podcast, man, it wasn't like he was there, hey, I'm here for disrespect or to disrespect the Sud or anything like that. This Vato just went up there to get a bag, man, conduct his business and get on up out of there, man. He didn't go in there. He didn't switch his clothing up. He didn't hide what he was, man. He went in there like you'll catch Tone always. He rocked his San Francisco Giants gear, man. He went up there looking like classic Tone, and that's just what it is. You know, he didn't look nervous, didn't look shell-shocked, wasn't beyond his means. He was in a position, in a place where, you know, you could see he felt comfortable, but he was very aware. That's the Norteño estilo. That's the Southsider estilo. Be comfortable, but always stay aware. That's what real motherfuckers are gamed up and educated to be. I thought he carried himself and showed the Norteño movement at a highest level, man. I respect it. Now, again, there's going to be those that pick through it and say, oh, man, you know, the Vato should have never been invited and this, and that. At the end of the day, man, these Vatos are going to move however they want to move. I don't know how many times I've already heard, hey, there will be no more Norteños on No Jumper. This shit ain't going to happen. What did I tell you guys? Did I not tell you? As soon as Adam banned bands from the studio and Lazy Boy and said these Vatos can't come because of the level of disrespect, what did I say? I said, I bet you he drops the Big Tone interview though. I bet you he don't erase that. Boom. Next day, 3 o'clock. There you go. Toma. The Vato's about his business and he's doing his thing. You know, the people that say, no, he's getting punked or he's scared or this and that. Maybe so. I don't know, right? I don't think that's the tactic that happened here with Lefty Gunplay. I think truly Adam's feeling some type of way because Lefty fucking told him, toma, 10 tawa or nada, right? I ain't going to do shit on your channel. So what he did was he disrespected Lefty. See, hey, he's a manipulator. He's a culebra, a snake. He knows how to do it. First thing he did was manipulate Wack, or you don't even have to manipulate Wack 100. He's just going to do, on Power, he's going to do what he does on GP, right? So they disrespected Lefty, got Lefty in his feelings, then doubled back when that didn't work and said, you know what, I'm going to play good cop, bad cop. Then in cop fashion, good cop fashion, he went back and said, you know what, I'm just going to, these guys are not allowed. They're not allowed back to my podcast, whoop-de-whoop. And hoping that Lefty would give him some action and jump back on because he knows that will be one of the biggest podcasts he had in a very long time, one of the biggest interviews because everybody's anticipating seeing what's going to happen. And he'll get straight to it. Oh, how'd you feel about the disrespect, right? And put the guy on the spot. I think Lefty's smarter than that, man. I don't think Adam's playing his cards right. But back to the Big Tone thing. It was a great interview, man. It was handled professionally. There ain't really nothing bad I could say about it. You know, for those that are turning it into something it isn't and trying to make it a North-South thing, man, you got your fools mixed up like a Brent Wood song. This one was actually pretty good. I'll be dropping more heat today, man. I got banger after banger. I got bangers giving bangers piggyback rides. So make sure you guys tap in. With that being said, I hope that you move smooth with a purpose. Get everything that you want coming. And remember, at the end of the day, man, I'm glad that someone like Big Tone knew enough to know enough not to fall for Adam's shenanigans. Oh, we tried about the haircut thing, but didn't fucking Tone break him down? He said, well, you said it yourself. There's even Southerners with this haircut. Adam said, on another note, thumbs up, thumbs down. Heavy's going to be the head that wears the crown. I'm going to continue to struggle, strive, and struggle for what I truly believe in, and that's providing the best possible entertainment I can and giving it to you uncut with no added preservatives. Just what I do. This is the gun. Bang, bang.